Yeah, as I said, it was the more emotional part, and now we come to facts and figures. And I'm really happy to introduce Karp from Anerca. She will present the Key to Confidence study, a brand new study worldwide. They have asked more than 11,000 participants about their consumer attitudes and the changing behavior. Hi, Ellen. Let us know about the study.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to check my watch regularly because I really have a lot to share with you, and I'm very excited about it. What you're going to hear about are the results of a very big study. I'm not going to say consumers, I'm going to say people, because consumption is one small piece of what people are. But Oeko-Tex, and I'm sure you're familiar with Oeko-Tex, which is an organization that provides certification for textile products to certify that they are safe from harmful substances and produced in an environmentally and socially responsible way. Oeko-Tex and the local institute is Hohenstein here in Germany. There are 18 scientific organizations that make up Oeko-Tex, was having its 25th anniversary in 2017 and did something absolutely marvelous, which was commission a study of people, real people. And this was the first of its kind. You might know that there have been a lot of studies presented from the trade perspective, but nothing really major from the consumer perspective. And I'm going to say that Oeko-Tex was visionary in this and has been very generous about letting me come and present these really interesting, if I say so myself, results. This is how big it was. The survey took people 25 minutes. They did it online. 11,200 people in 10 countries. Australia, Brazil, Canada, I should know this by now, Canada, China, Germany, India, Japan, Spain, Switzerland, US, I think I have most of them. And they were people who were buying clothing and home textiles. So what did we want to know? Well, we wanted to know many, many things. And a long survey like that enabled us to learn many, many things. But just to share with you one of the motivations that I had was that when I started looking at people and sustainable fashion, sustainable textiles about 12 years ago, I would listen to people who were we called them green, very, very, very green consumers. And they talk about the food that they were eating, they wanted to eat healthier, do better for the planet. And I'd say to them, well, what about your clothes? And they would look at me like I was a completely insane person, and they'd say, well, what about my clothes? Because sustainable textiles were at that time nowhere on the horizon. So one of the things that I thought it's really important to be able to see if that's changing, in fact, is there a tipping point on the horizon where, and I think it was Matteo yesterday, I dropped in, and Matteo Ward, I think his name might have been, said eventually clothing and sustainable clothing should be one and the same thing, synonymous. So where are we now? So I'm going to take you through a lot of data. I think I have about 25 minutes. That's good. I can probably take you through a lot. It's the tip of the iceberg. As I said, Oeko-Tex did a wonderful thing, and we have so much information now that I'm just giving you really a taste for what we have. I'm going to start, though, by talking about the global people and their attitudes about climate change. Do they believe it? Are they worried about it, etc.? Because one of the things that was important to do is to take the information about textiles and put it in the context of their overall beliefs about climate change. So one of the first questions we asked was this. We gave people a list of 16 issues that are important to people in the world today and said, which are the top 5 that are keeping you up at night? Which do you personally really worry about? So just to yourself, think, where was climate change globally? Does somebody want us to, there were 16. Where do you think climate change was? Sorry? 16. Okay, 16, let's see. Well, it was third. It was third. In many countries, it was second. 41% of people globally selected climate change as the issue that kept them up at night. So obviously, we ask a lot of attitudinal questions in a survey like this. And one was, do you agree that climate change is a real and very serious problem? Now, I think you know why that was in there. We did this, we were actually going to field this survey right after the Paris Accord when Mr. Trump showed up. So I had to say, oh, wait a minute, we have to wait now a month or two before we can do this. And so, like many people, I was very curious as to whether people consider it to be real. So 8 in 10 do consider it to be real. People also take responsibility. Climate change is largely due to emissions from human activities, 3 in 4 people. The next one is interesting because the next one, the actions of an individual like myself cannot reduce climate change, only 37%. So 63% of people in the world think they can do something. Now, in this survey, there were a lot of what we call open-ended questions. I'm sure you've done surveys where we just say why. And there were 4 or 5. I want to interrupt myself to tell you that one of the ways I knew that climate change and even textile sustainability is important is that people, if you've ever seen somebody do a survey, it's often on the telephone, on their phone, at the end of a day. This was 25 minutes, and it wasn't an easy survey that said, pick the, do you like the blue one or the green one? They had to read, they had to think all the way through. Towards the end, there were open-ended questions, and people wrote paragraphs. They even spelled Oeko-Tex properly, which is a hard word to spell, but they really took it seriously. And some of the things that they said again and again in every country was, I want to take responsibility. I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I want to take small steps. I want my brands to help me was something else they said. And one of the expressions that came up again and again and again was, I want to do the right thing. So here you can see that only 37% felt that they could not do their share. How many people said, I'm committed to a sustainable, environmentally friendly lifestyle? Look at that, 70%. 70% of people. It means that in some countries it was a little less, but in some countries it was a little more. That's a lot of people. I've had people say to me, but what about the other 30%? And I say, imagine you're in the subway, and there's the 10 people. 7 of them think that they're committed to a sustainable lifestyle. Really a lot of people. Are they living that way? Well, you can take a look. Not quite yet. There aren't 70% of people doing all the things you see on the right-hand side. But they're aspiring to do it. It's an aspiration nowadays to live sustainably. I'm going to throw in a few of the quotes so you can get the flavor, if I have time. I guess I have time. So you can see the efforts of one person might be small, but the accumulation of such efforts can have a huge effect. That's why I do what I can. Japan. I want to know that I'm being a responsible human being and make sure that what I buy isn't making the world worse. I'm a conscious citizen and would like to contribute towards the betterment of the world. These were statements that I read again and again. I had about 40,000 comments, and this is what I read again and again. So what about textiles? What about the textile industry? So do people globally consider the textile industry to be a serious polluter? So first of all, do they know anything about textiles? Because we suspected probably not so much. And so 4 in 10 people said, no, I don't really know very much about the way my clothes or textiles are produced. Not so, though. In production, textile production countries like India and China, where they knew a lot more about it. And you'll see that come up again and again because they're quite different. So the level of knowledge about the industry actually played a role in whether they thought the textile industry was a serious polluter or not. So we said, okay, here are a bunch of industries. Which are the worst polluters? And you can see. Textile industry, not really. 22% chose it as one of the most polluting industries. However, that was not the case in the manufacturing countries. This will probably seem logical to you, but there, over 40% of people said it's one of the most serious polluters. They could only pick 2 or 3. And in fact, they ranked it. In those countries, they ranked it 3rd after energy and automobiles. So it's a whole different story if you're living with the results of textile manufacturing in your backyard. So, are people worried about harmful substances? Now, what you see, this table is showing you the number of people that said, I'm extremely or very worried about harmful substances. And I have to say this number surprised me because I think 40%, you're on the subway, 4 out of 10 people sitting near you say, I'm extremely worried about harmful substances in textiles. That was a lot higher than I thought. The difference in the work that I've done in previous years, there was a huge difference between worries about harmful substances in food versus clothing. Not anymore. There's only a 20% difference. However, again, if you look at what people in the production countries said, China, India, over 70% said, I am extremely or very concerned about harmful substances in the textiles. Here's a slide. There's a lot of blah, blah there. But we asked people about whether they were aware or have they purchased eco-friendly, which we defined just as clothing produced in an environmentally friendly way, eco-friendly clothing, eco-friendly home textiles, and items for babies and small children. As it turns out, very high awareness. So 80 to 90, that line in green at the top, 80 to 90% of people are aware that these products exist. How many are purchasing on a global basis? 36% said I've purchased eco-friendly clothing and 32% have said I've purchased home textiles. But it's higher for items for babies and small children because it doesn't matter what category of product you're interested in, be it food or care lotions. When people become pregnant and have a child, or some people when they get a puppy for the first time, it's a big moment of, I have to start taking care of things. I have to be more responsible. So everything, when I look at the columns of responses, when I look at parents, and when I look at parents of young children, they're always the most engaged. They're the most worried. They're the most eager to live better. They're the most eager to get involved. We gave a whole list of adjectives and said, pick those that describe eco-friendly clothing. And they included things like ugly, sexy, attractive, unattractive, soft, innovative. And the people who are in the market for eco-friendly clothes had very good things to say. High quality, soft, innovative, unique, long-lasting. Typically, people who buy sustainable products really feel that they're superior products. Here's just a couple of quotes about harmful substances. In this day and age, so many things we eat and wear are harmful to our health, so we must be vigilant. Clothing has direct contact with our skin. It can damage our health. From China. So let's move into the area of trust. I work in a lot of product categories. I have a market research consumer strategy firm. And what do I hear from consumers all over lately? It doesn't matter what's being discussed. I don't believe it, prove it to me. So does this apply here? When people say eco-friendly clothes, do people believe it? People are skeptical. Well, it turns out they don't really believe it, because if you look at this table, you'll see that 25% of people who are aware of eco-friendly clothes always or often check to see if they really are eco-friendly. Now, again, people answer this subjectively, but that's a lot of people. If you add the 40% that are checking sometimes, that means 2/3 of people are checking. How are they checking? They're looking for a certification label. Many are looking at the fiber content to determine. They're looking at where it's born, and they're checking the brand. And if you represent a brand, I have a lot of news coming up for you soon, because brand name is really important here. So we asked very early on, we gave people a list of products and said, are you interested in knowing if these products are safe from harmful substances, responsibly produced? And again, I was pretty shocked by that result for clothes and home textiles. 6 in 10 people said, I'm interested in knowing. That's the green line. You can see that 31% have purchased certified textiles globally. Again, more in some countries than in others. But again, clothing and home textiles are not far behind food and personal care products, the products that we ingest into our body and put on our body. So what did they have to say about why they're interested? A lot of them said, I want to take responsibility. I talked about that. I want to feel better about the clothes I buy. Someone in my family, usually a child, has a kind of allergy or skin reaction. This one on the left was really, really common. It's an easy way for me to do the right thing. I can add it to the arsenal of behaviors that contribute to a sustainable lifestyle. A lot of people said it tells me what brands I should buy and what brands I should avoid. And many also said it's a way of addressing some of the concerns I have about chemicals and sustainability. So I have a really blah blah slide coming up to show to what degree people are involved in textile sustainability. So this is too much. But really what I want you to notice is the green area on this sphere. Those are people involved in some way. There are only 17% globally who could not care less. In some countries, it's like 2% who could not care less. The committed are people who are really living a sustainable lifestyle, and they understand the textile piece. The compelled people are those who are living in a textile production area. So they have this personal experience, and they really want to change. And the people in India and China, I can tell you, really want to change. In the third group, a lot of the European countries fall into this group. A lot of the people fall into this group, and these are people who say, I'm kind of getting it. I really am aware, starting to get aware of the impact of the textile industry, and they're very, very aware and concerned about workers, textile workers. The fourth group, a lot of North Americans, and my own country, Canada, is in there, don't really understand textiles, it's a little far removed, but are getting it, that something has to be done about climate change. This is a very long quote, but it's to show you what I meant when I said people at the end of a day's work just sat with their phones and expressed their opinions and expressed. My first priority is to find out whether the environment suffers from the production of textiles, because what good is a planet on the brink of destruction, etc. From Germany. One of the things that I was very interested in is, there are some great documentaries. Alexandra talked about one that she's involved with the oceans. There's The True Cost. There's a lot more buzz out there. Are people aware of it? Are they getting it? And are they reacting to it? So you can see a list of statements. So I went looking for the most common type of statements you see in the press and on blogs and so forth, and tried to find them from what we'd call reliable sources. And we put them in the survey and said, are you aware of each of these? And then, after that, which 4 have the greatest impact on the way you think about the textile industry? So what actually turned out is that there is some awareness, particularly of labor-related issues. So payment of workers, working conditions and hours, and to a degree child labor. People are aware of that. Unless you're in one of these really close by countries, there is some awareness of chemical use. There's some awareness of environmental impact, waste, and so forth. Put it at the awareness overall of the labor-related issues is about 50% of people are aware. And for the social and environmental, it's somewhere between 20 and 40% of people who are aware. The important thing here is what happened once they read these. Once they read these, all I read again and again and again was shock, 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 shock. People said, I am so shocked by this, I must change the way I must change my textile life, put it that way. And also, I really want to hold the brands that I buy accountable. I want to buy brands that are doing the right thing. Another very interesting thing that came up here was that suddenly the differences between people in India and people in the United States and people in Japan and people in Brazil were minimized. Everybody globally started to say the same thing once they were aware of these facts. So it shows you the degree to which education and communication really play a huge, huge role in this. Shocked. I've seen documentaries, it's sinking in, now I want to make a difference. These were typical comments. So once people knew the facts about the textile industry, and they read a little bit about the work of Oeko-Tex, and we said, okay, well now how likely would you be to look for a certification label like the Oeko-Tex label? You might know, by the way, you might know the Oeko-Tex label from Standard 100, or Made in Green is one of their labels, if you're not familiar with that brand name. So how likely would you be? Very likely, somewhat likely, a little, not likely at all, to look for this label when you buy clothes in the future? 90%. In some countries, it was about 100%. And on their labels, Oeko-Tex, on some of them, it says confidence in textiles. So would this make you feel more confident about the clothing you buy? Again, 90% of people in the world said, yes, I would feel more confident. And when I speak to the industry, I say we're so used to hearing people talk about confidence in clothing as you look good, you feel good, you'll have a better life because you feel good about yourself. This is a different confidence. It's the confidence that you're doing your own part in keeping the world going. It's a much deeper. And why? So again, it's the harmful substances, environmental monitoring, the treatment of workers, quality control, and objectivity. I tried to find a couple of good German quotes. And again, these people were writing at the end of a long day's work on their phone. Quite amazing. So what does it mean? Is a tipping point coming? In some countries, I'd say it's almost there. When you read through, India and China are quite different. They have a different relationship with sustainability and textiles, but they're very close to a tipping point. In others, it's building. I have to say it's building, with 40% of people globally extremely or very concerned about harmful substances. That's a clue right there that something is happening. There's definitely a buzz in the air about textile sustainability. That statement, the fashion industry is the second most polluting after oil, You tell people, I'm sure if you told people this, try it today. Say, do you know much about the textile industry? Well, it's the second most polluting. You'll see, most people, if they're normal, they kind of go, oh, I had no idea. And that is what spurs action. So the point that we make here is if you're a brand, and if you're a big brand even, are you going to let the tsunami of public awareness wash over you, or are you going to do something? So there are lots of opportunities, both for those of you involved in smaller scale production or in big production. Brands, as I said, are very important. 42% of people said, I really want to know the values of clothes I buy. These are not people who are into sustainability more than anybody else. This is Monsieur, Madame, Mr., Mrs. everyday life that we spoke to. So 42% really want to know about the brands they buy. They really want to know about what companies are doing that's green, even if they're not fully very green. They want to know small steps. They understand they have to change slowly and incrementally. They want companies to as well. As you know, certification is a sign that a brand is a good guy or not a good guy. And people want help. They want brands that they like to mentor them a little bit in how to build how to live what I call a better textile life. So when brands and retailers publicize sustainability efforts and educate consumers, they make it easy for consumers to do the right thing. Oeko-Tex is partnering with brands and retailers to deliver these assurances. So one of the things that we advise companies to do is to say, okay, there are concerns in parts of the industry, but there are solutions. And I'm going to tell you, people don't look for solutions to problems they don't know exist. So you really have to educate the public about the industry. But then you have to say, but there are solutions. My brand is part of the solution. We're going to make it easy for you to make the right choice for your family and your conscience. Let us tell you what we're doing to make sure our products are safe and responsibly made, and here's the proof, because people like proof. And it can be whatever your sustainability values are, whatever your policies are, what you're doing, if you're using certification, etc. So brands and certifiers, however, what are they? They act as shortcuts. I call them shortcuts to trust. That's kind of what came out there. This is the key to confidence in clothes and other textiles for a new era of textile sustainability. So I love this comment. We can all play a part in creating a better world. That's the Nataraja, the dancing Shiva, who's dancing on a demon to keep the world in balance between destruction and chaos and creation. When I read through the comments of people nowadays, that's what they're doing. To me, this is the perfect symbol, because people are really concerned that the world is going to fall into chaos, and we're all kind of dancing on the head of a demon to keep it balanced. And so this study that I was so privileged to participate in was really about the textile piece of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra.